Every time you order from, well, most every time you order from the Rock Hard Auto, you get one of these magnet thingies. And so I've got a lot of them, and this happens to be a duplicate. So Deanne's Nissan, built with Rock Auto parts, is going to be, boop, our whole plug cover. Let's go take a look. Welcome back to another edition of Little Red Ford Truck. We ordered a driver's side floor pan after the end of the last video, and figured we'd just be driving this, putting some miles on it, letting that rise loan clean out the engine. The darn floor pan showed up the very next day, and so it's right here. Looks to be an appropriate piece and ready to go in. The plan is to weld in. We're going to cut out, we're not going to use this whole thing, but we're going to use a big portion of it, probably most of this area here, and the plan is to do this without even pulling the seat and without pulling the floor liner. It's a rubber liner truck, but we fiddled with it when we were kind of examining just how bad the rust was, and we found out that it was worse than we thought down in there. And we were able to get the mat all the way rolled up to the gas pedal without really ripping it up too much more than it already is. So the plan is we're going to come in here. There's three big sheet metal screws that hold the gas pedal to the bulkhead. We're going to loosen those so we can manipulate this gas pedal out of the way, and then we're going to try to fold this whole thing up and over that away to about the shifter, and then that should give us plenty of room to cut, grind, and weld our new floor patch in. That's the plan. Let's see how it goes. Thanks for watching, sharing, subscribing. Click the likey thing too. All right, yeah, this I think is going to work. We dug out all the seam sealer along here. We may have to go up a little further. This little cover here will let you access the cab mount bolt. We are not going to even mess with trying to get it out of there in one piece. What we're going to do is we're going to cut just above this about an inch or so, give or take. And when we get everything laid back in here, we're going to measure down right now from this edge up here, and then we'll come in with a hole saw and we'll make like a 1-inch hole in our new floor and just put a plastic plug in there. That'll work pretty good. But here's why we ended up having to do more. We thought maybe we were just going to get away with a rectangle of replacement right here, but then once we pulled the carpet up, we've got a hole here, hole way up here, and a bigger hole over here than what we originally thought. A lot of this looks like, guys and gals, probably water was coming in through these bad door trim gaskets and getting this carpet wet. A lot of this is rotten from the inside out. You can see how the pits are eating downward into the metal, and there's no significant signs of Mises in this truck. There's one little concern back here. We also have, and I know the light's not great, we've got a hole right here, and then we've got a hole behind that a little bit right in front of my fingy right there. The back edge of this floor pan is going to be right in this area, so there's a good chance we're going to cut the rot out of here and come out to about here, and there's a good chance we're going to have to hand fab a little chunk right in this area. But for now, we've got our replacement pan over on the sawhorses, and what we did was we kind of eyeballed, measured from the bottom of this brake where it curves up about 7 inches, and we're going to cut straight across here on our replacement pan. And then I think we can pretty much set it right in here on top of this piece and see what it's going to look like. So over on the sawhorses, again, we came up about 7 inches from this slight break line, and this is not even. So what we did is we found our number we liked over here using a reference, and then we went down from the top, and then we came over here. This has also got a little bit of a radius to it, but we got them kind of eyeballed where we thought it was about the same, and I think we ended up coming down like 3 inches or whatever. And then we scribed the line. We'll cut that off, and then we'll set this in there. Let's see how this fits here. I probably need 2 hands for at least some of this. So I think we can come in under our wires here, up against our pad. Yeah, buddy. And down, something like that is pretty close to where we're gonna live, I think. Okay, so not a horrible fit, but not wonderful either. It looks like we may cover enough of our cancer back here. We're gonna have to dolly this down a little bit, obviously. Back here on this edge, we've got a gap here we're gonna have to dolly. We're not even close down in here, but again, I think once we get stuff kind of tacked into place, I like this top edge here. I like this corner, and we can come down and we can eliminate this gap over here just by coming down and cutting this panel in this area. I think that's gonna be kind of a plan. We're not, yeah, this whole area here, this concaveness is not correct, but this back edge here is bituminous. It's just not quite enough here, and like I said, we can work our way over here, and then we can make this bit with a dolly and some hammer action. And then down here, same thing. If we need to, even we can drill through here and put some self tappers down to pull this down and make it a little bit happier. But yeah, otherwise, I think it's going to be nice. It already looks way better than the old one. But let's mark now. We're going to mark around the outside edge of this and then see where we can, you know, make some adjustments on the size of this and the shape of this to best suit our needs. All right, good. So like I thought, we've got, this is the outline of our panel here, this silver line. I drew it up over, it goes all the way up into here and then across. One of the things we have to be careful of is over here, it actually cuts in from the edge of the kick panel here. So we can't just cut over here and come down, and we don't need to. But if you are really rusty over here, you have to be really careful, because yeah, this would not be good. If you had a rust hole right here, you wouldn't have a way of really filling it properly. But we don't have that issue, and it looks like we're going to easily get past our 2 rust holes here, so that's good. Only thing we're going to do is probably, I think we're even going to keep this back edge. It fit really nicely. except here you can see there's a little groove beaded into the steel right here, and this is the edge of our panel back here. So we're going to come under that line so that we don't have to worry about trying to tack weld or plug weld in this valley. We're going to come under that with our cut and then come somewhere into this area here and avoid this weird bowl here. So I think that's the plan. I'm going to get a straight edge, and we're just going to straight edge this first and see what it looks like. And we might have to make some adjustmentations, but I think it's going to be all right. And then the next step will be, once we do figure out our final outline, we're going to come in from that about 3/4 of an inch. We're not going to try and butt weld this in. It is going to be sitting on top of the old metal. We'll make sure it's good metal, and then we're going to plug weld around the edges and seam seal underneath. And that's how we're going to place this replacement pan. All right, I do have the safeties on, except where's my gloves? Let's find a pair of gloves here. Here we go. Because it's really kind of rusty and stuff in there in a confined environment, we'll go ahead and put the masky on. I don't want to be blowing black boogers for the next 3 days. I'm going to try to get you all up on the roof looking down something like that. It ain't going to be great because I want to be all up in here moving around and cutting and stuff. But here's our final line. See, we came in about 3/4 of an inch all the way around, even on the back. And then we also have a brace that comes straight front to rear under here. We're going to have to cut on each side of that for now. And then I think we've got a box around this bolt. I don't know if it's part of the floor or not, but we'll figure it out. We'll cut this section out over here, and then we'll come on the other side of the brace, cut this section out, and we'll work around that box. We should be in pretty good shape. We'll see what that does for you. Hey, one more thing. Get underneath before you start cutting on this stuff. You got to get underneath and make sure that you don't have any brake lines, fuel lines, that kind of stuff that you're going to damage or catch on fire. Same thing with the interiors. We're going to watch real carefully on the back of this carpet, or I'm sorry, this mat. And then we've got a welding blanket over our seat. Here we go. we're getting somewhere. I think it's time to switch tools. Stand by. Phew! Working up a sweat. Okay, we're going to carry a little bit of a shortcut and use the air hammer to separate these spot welds. Woo-wee. I mean, it went pretty quick. We probably weren't even in there a half hour maybe. But it's just hard work. It's one of them things you just got to buckle down and do it. But we have a pretty good result, dudes and dudettes. So all of our outside lines are cut. And then we found our floor brace. Went on each side of it. You watch that, and then we came back in, and I learned this just not too long ago. Instead of trying to drill out these pop rivets, especially when you're talking interior panels and floor pans and stuff like that, get you an air hammer. And if they aren't, now on the older cars, and depending on make, model, year, some of the folks on the assembly line just went berserk with the spot weld. So it might take more time, but we noticed right away on this one, we've only got a spot weld, you know, on average about every inch and a half at the most. So we popped through all these, peeled that up as we went, and then we came under here and we popped all these. Now we still have a little bit of metal left over. We'll go in, we'll grind all this down flat and clean up our edges. And then we're going to set our pan back in here and make sure we didn't, you know, measure wrong. But no, that wasn't too bad. We went from, you know, a bunch of rustiness to a big hole and some scrap metal on the ground. Didn't even go through a whole wheel. Came close though. We're gonna clean up these spot welds in the edges, and we'll bring you back when we set our pan back in there. Well, okay, I am gonna take it back. I said this panel didn't fit very good, and there were parts of it that I didn't really like the look, but the part that we needed, dudes, dudettes, look at this. We got her trimmed down to where we want it, and then we've got 3 self-tappers in here just keeping us happy. But look at these edges right here. We're all nice and flat and flush against the floor, but here's where the panel used to be, and we cut this dip out, and that's where, you know, there's a couple different things going on here, and that's where this replacement panel didn't duplicate all this, and you can't really expect it to. But the part we needed comes right down here, really smooth. We zippy zapped this a little bit, got it nice and flush against there. Back here's just beautiful. Even this notch is good all the way to here. And then, like we showed you before, we've got this little issue that will very easily, what we'll do is we'll work our way around, all the way around this thing over to here last, and then we'll get the hammer and dolly out, and we'll beat this down, push this down, maybe even self-tapper it down and get that welded. Now, we do have a little bit of discrepancy in our footwell channel here, but I'm not too worried about it. We're gonna get plug welds all through here, and then we're gonna get some welding clamps, and we're gonna suck this down and weld down in the valley down here. And then seam sealer aggressively through here around all the edges, brush it out nice, and then on the bottom side, seam sealer as well. Now what we have to do next is we had that brace for the cab mount pocket, and then the brace for the floor that runs right through here. We're going to go on the bottom side, mark those out on the back side of this so we can drill out through here for plug welds. And then we're going to drill out all along the outside edge for plug welds. Scuff this down to bare metal. We'll come back in, screw it back in one more time, and we can start ticky-tack welding this puppy in. I'm pretty excited. I mean, we went from that to that, and it really does fit nice. Next day alert. We're ready. We're ready for some welding here. Everything is in. We got our 3 self tappers in. Now we may have to go through. We're going to start around the edges here, up underneath the pedals, and we're going to kind of work everything down towards the seat together. And now we did overlap, so we got a little bit of a gap between our replacement piece and our brace under here, so we might have to come in here as we go and hit a self tapper and pull that together so it's, you know, perfect. But otherwise we're still enjoying the fit very much, and we're going to start zip zapping this in. So I'm going to try to stick you guys to the ceiling again, and I don't know, you might have some good viewage, but I'm going to be crawling around in here too, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's get you up to speed here. A lot of bit of plug welding, but we are in. We did have to do a few screws in here to suck this down to that brace, and let's crawl underneath and show you that now. Oh, my liver. There we go. Looks really nice under here. That's our edge all along here, all along the back. We've got a little bit of gappage. This is that inside where it curls up to the tunnel area. We do have a little bit of a gap there, but we will caulk that with some seam sealer. Here's the back edge again. It looks really nice. All of our plug welds had good penetration. We're just doing fantastic, I think. And then here's our brace. Again, we got our plug welds all the way through. This brace is galvanized. That's why you see some of that white stuff. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. Now we're going to go ahead, we'll clean up around the edges under here. This will also get seam sealed, and then we'll give it just a light spritz of probably some sort of undercoating to give that one more layer of protection. All right, now when I do this on floor pans, rockers, that kind of stuff, the stuff that doesn't show, I'm way more concerned about it lasting than I am about what it looks like. So here's, we did the bottom, and we've done all around the outside edges here, and I'm going to show you on this last. We'll even go over I'm confident in these plug welds here, but we're gonna even go over that. Oops, let me get my caulk gun working here. And we're gonna lay a pretty healthy bead of seam sealer right across the top of all of these plug welds, like so. All right. Then you take the cheapest little 3/4 inch stain or paintbrush you can get at the greatest place on earth, and we're just gonna, this stuff sets up pretty quick. You can paint over this stuff, they say, in an hour. And we're just gonna go over and smooth out that big ridge like so. So now we've got it welded, and now we've got even those welds sealed up for the most part. All right, next day, maybe a couple days later, I don't remember. Anyway, we got updates for you. It took a little while longer, where's my light, for the seam sealer to cure, and we don't want to rush this process, but this is what the end result looks like before any kind of top coating. We're a little pliable, but we're dry, and everything's sealed up really nicely. We're gonna blow this out or vacuum this out, and then we're gonna touch the inside up with a little bit of semi-gloss engine oil. And then, oh, that's weird, underneath, let's go down under here. Underneath, we're looking really good as well. All the seams. Now, I know it's not pretty, and I didn't do this to make it pretty. I did this to make it sound and make it hopefully last a very long time before there's ever another problem. All the edges nice and sealed up. We did have a gap here, and we kind of filled that, but it's gonna be okay. Remember, up in here, the seam on the inside is really nice. So we just want to treat this to keep any gunk from building up down under here between these two layers. But yeah, this patch panel really did end up fitting very nicely. And on the bottom side, we're gonna treat this with a little bit of what you call rubberized undercoating. So let's go paint and undercoat, and we'll bring it back one more time. All right, we're calling this complete. There's a little bit of cracking on the seam sealer where the black primer paint has cracked, but that's okay. It's on the seam sealer. We will do one more coat here, and then underneath, guys and gals, the rubberized undercoating looks really nice. It's going to protect all those edges, our new floor pan and our old metal where we welded to it. So really pleased with how everything kind of turned out under here, especially. Whoa, I almost forgot one extremely very important part, because if somebody down the road does want to do more generous body work to this rig, they may need to take the cab off. And remember, we had that little access plate that is not included in our new floor pan here. So we measured previously very carefully, and we got a hole saw. We cut our hole, protected the edges, but now we've got a hole there. Well, that cavity is not open to the underside because it's not rusted through or anything. So really nothing can get in there that we have to protect the inside of the truck from. So what do? Well, I looked around in my rubber plugs and hole plugs and plastic plugs and all kinds of stuff, and I didn't have one the right size. It's about 1.25 inches. However, every time you order from, well, most every time you order from the Rock Hard Auto, you get one of these magnet thingies. And so I've got a lot of them, and this happens to be a duplicate. So Deanne's Nissan, built with Rock Auto parts, is going to be, boop, our hole plug cover. All right, we're going to put the carpet back in, seal this side of the truck up. Appreciate each and every one of you watching our stuff. If you have comments, suggestions, whatever. If you want to holler at us, tippy tap the keyboard, and we'll see ya on the next video.